Shalom, Kodashim. Thanks for joining me today. I'm so thankful to be able to share this word with you. This is a prophecy, a word spoken forth to Babylon. Have you ever, in your walk, come across the calendar cultists, the people who want to beat you down with the calendar, saying you have the wrong calendar? We follow the sun, we follow the moon, we follow the stars. What's it all about? That stuff, it'll wear you out, that's for sure. And I was reading this morning thinking, this is kind of out of Babylon. And I'm not discouraging anyone to seek the Father, to seek the calendar, but I think it's important that we don't destroy our brothers and sisters in the process of trying to understand the things of Yahuwah. It's been said that you can toss a truth bomb into somebody's lap, but what good is it if you've dismembered that person and injured them from your truth? So we speak the truth in love, patience, and kindness. And I just wanted to share this morning, reading through Isaiah 46. Talks about Babylon, that Isaiah is speaking unto Babylon. And if you look here in verse 3, it says, "Listen unto me." So Yahuwah is talking through his prophet Isaiah unto Babylon. It says, "Listen unto me, O house of Jacob, and all the remnant of the house of Israel, which are born by me from the belly, which are carried from the womb." So the Father, he is the one that produces the offspring, right? So he's given birth to Israel, house of Jacob. They are Israel, my son, my firstborn. In verse 5 it says, "To whom will you liken me and make me equal, and compare me that may be like?" So who is like Elohim? There's no one else. There is nobody that we can compare Elohim to. In verse 9 it says, "Remember the former things of old." So that former things of old, Rishon, the beginning. "For I am El, and there is none else. I am El, and there is none like me." So there's none like the Father. He declares the end, Akarith, from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, "My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure." So the Father declares it from the beginning, from the head, the former things of old, that he is El, and from ancient times there's no one else besides him. There's nobody up in heaven along with him in heaven, right? "I bring near my righteousness," verse 13, "I bring near my righteousness, it shall be far off, and my salvation shall not tarry." Akarith, right? Akarith, he will not tarry. "I will place my salvation, my teshua, in Zion, for Israel, my glory." So Israel is his glory. His people is his glory. Kind of reminds me of when the Messiah says, "The glory that I had with thee before the world began." And that glory is praise, right? He had that praise. He had the esteem. He had, the Father knew of the Son before the world began. He knew. It's what Colossians calls preeminence, foreknowledge. He didn't exist up there in heaven. He says, "No one is up here with me. No one created these things. I myself have done these things." If you look at chapter 47, he's talking to Babylon. "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." So we see this language as if Babylon had a seat in the heavens. We are seated in the heavenlies, Paul talks about. And so he is saying to Babylon, humble yourselves, sit down on the ground and listen. I'm going to teach you something. I want you to listen. Verse 3, chapter 47. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as Adam, as a man. He's saying, I am not going to bring myself down to you. That's one thing cultures like to do throughout religions, is either ascend up to heaven or bring the Father down to earth, to their level, to make him into a man. And so he says right there, I will not meet thee as a man. His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. In verse 5, it says, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness. The kosek. Kozin's a seer, a prophet, a vision. Somebody has visions, right? So they look into the darkness, into the heavens. He says, sit thou in silence and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Now, is that a reference to the Queen of Heaven? Possibly. I think there's that typology, that themology is what I call it. The theme of the father and the king and the queen, the rebellious wife, the idolatrous, the adulterous wife, kicked out, right? The Lady of Kingdoms. That word lady is also strength. Gabor, you think of the man will be called a Gabor, so from the female perspective, Giboreth, kingdoms. If we scroll down here to verse 8, it says, therefore hear now this, thou art given pleasures that dwellest carelessly, and sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall now not sit as a widow, therefore neither shall I know loss of children. Now this isn't the declaration of I am, but it's ani. So, but it's still that exalting, that lifting up, that pride in somebody's heart, that pride in Babylon. Scrolling down to verse 12, it says, stand now, talking to Babylon, stand now with thine enchantments, chabar, to cast spells. So something we're taught when we're growing up is how to spell. We're taught spelling, correct? It says, stand now with thy enchantments, with the multitude of thy sorceries, the kasaf, magic, the concealing, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, if so be that thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. So it all comes down to this, that profiting, right? Trying to make money. They have their sorceries, their magic. They seduce you with Hollywood, magicians, stargazers. It says, thou art weary. Talking in context of the calendars. It wears you down sometimes. You've become wearied in the multitude of counselors. But Yahuwah says, I am your counselor. I am teaching you. Sit down and listen. I will show you the perfect way. He says, let now the astrologers, which is in Hebrew, it's Habar Shamayim. So Habar, that's kind of like horoscopist, astrologer, people that use the heavenly bodies to try to predict, try to influence, try to make that profit off of people. And I'm not saying that, looking to trying to figure out the heavenly scroll and trying to figure out, when we're supposed to meet Yahuwah during his feast days. It's not about that. It's about the prophet and those people with the horoscopist and those who seduce people for a profit. He says, let now the astrologers and those stargazers, that's our word kazah kabab, so that's star, and then kazah, like I said, somebody who, which is a seer. A seer looks into the heavenly scroll and they see things. An overseer, somebody that sees, chakma, tied in there with that root. So, but the stargazers and the monthly, kadosh, the moon, prognosticators, the new moons, the calendars, the suns, looking at the heavens, stuff wears you out. So he's saying, Stand up now. You're weary of these things. Stand up and say how, let these things save you. Following the sun, the moon, and the stars, these prognostications. The monthly people that with the monthly calendars and the stars and the suns, and there's just a lot of stuff that comes out of Babylon that is just incorporated into, syncretized into our faith. And so we just have to be alarmed or be alert of that, because it'll wear you out, make you weary. Moving on to chapter 48, it says, Hear ye now this, O Jacob, which are called by the name of Yisrael, and are come forth out of the waters, the Maim of Judah, which swear by the name of Yahuwah. So that's Shabbat, to swear, kind of where we get like Shabbat, right? Or Sabbath, to swear. It's an oath. By the name of Yahuwah, and make mention of the God of Israel, but not in truth, not in emet, nor in tzedakah. So they swear by the name, so they have the appearance, they have all the, they say the right names, they'll produce the calendar, but inside, truth and righteousness is not with them. They call themselves holy, the holy city. They say to themselves, upon the God of Israel, Yahuwah Sabaoth is his name. Here again in verse 3, I have declared the former things, the Rishon, from the beginning, the head, and they went forth out of my mouth. So this is the word that was with Elohim. It was there in the beginning. It went forth out of his mouth. It's prophetic. And I showed them and I did them suddenly, and they came to pass. So whenever his word does not fall void, does not fall on ground that's not going to produce, he sends his word out and it comes to pass. Verse 6, Thou hast heard, see all this, and will not ye declare? I have showed thee new things. Kadesh, the new, like the new things. From this time, even hidden things. That word hidden is interesting. That's Natsar, where we get Natsarim. So before we were in Babylon, we were in these cultists, we went into these roots, these different things, and understanding that the way of the Natsar, those who guard the commandments, who follow the Messiah, the true Natsarim. So these are these hidden things that Yahuwah shows us. And verse 8 says, Yea, thou heardest not, yea, thou knowest not, yea, from the time thine ear was not opened. For I knew that thou wast not deal treacherously, and was called a transgressor from the womb. So Israel, he's saying, you're born in sin, so to speak. We're not inherently evil, but we are, from mankind is fallen. We're born in flesh, so we are prone to sin. I had this discussion the other day about, babies aren't technically, we're not born breaking the commandments, we're not born breaking the laws, but we're born into this, and that result is death. All men are going to die because of the sin of one man, and all men can come back to life because of the obedience of another man who shows us the way. Verse 10 says, Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. So as we walk as believers, sometimes it feels like we're just being afflicted, and that's part of the process. Like we are that clay. Why does the clay say to the potter, Why hast thou made me this way? It's like we rejoice in these things and know that when we're being afflicted, it's an opportunity to look to the Father, look to Yah, to know that we are being refined, that we are in this furnace of affliction, and maybe it's some time for us to adjust, time for us to reflect. Verse 11, For my own sake, even for my own sake will I do it, for how should my name be polluted, I will not give my glory to another. So he does not give his glory to anyone else as creator. He's the only one. But he does give his glory to his children. He glorifies them, gives praise. Verse 12. Well, let's go look at that actually. So that's not something I'm just making up here. 45 or 20 says, Yahuwah shall all the seed of Israel be justified, Zadikah, and shall glory. So it's a different glory. He's not giving that glory to his son. It's the glory that all the seed, which the son Yahusha is of the seed of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob from Yisrael, they shall glory in that sense. And so to give praise, but in this verse 11, he says, I will not give my glory to another. That's the word kabod. So that's where he dwells in the Shekinah, where he dwells as creator. He's not going to give that to anybody else. Verse 12. Listen unto me, O Jacob and Israel, my called, I am he, I am the first, I also am the last. And I know a lot of people like to tie this in with Revelation, where Messiah says, I am the first and the last. And I get that, the Father came to his own, came to his people via his Son, but that doesn't make him. We are the vessels, we are the clay. He says, we read earlier, he's like, I will not meet you as man, but he does communicate to us via his word, and his word was manifest in flesh. That prophesied word becomes flesh. And you can look at this too, look at this in the Brenton, which comes from the Greek. It says, hear me, O Jacob and Israel, whom I call. I am the first, and I endure forever. And so that's kind of what it's saying. It's the same word we saw last, akarith, to the end. So it's not that first and last, how we've been handed down from Babylon, these interpretations. But I am he from the beginning all the way to the end. I am Elohim, I change not. For I am not a man, nor the son of man, as he says in Numbers 23:9, that he would lie. He makes a double oath. I am neither man nor the son of man. My ways are higher than yours. I will not come down to you, to your level. Verse 15. I, ani, I have spoken, the dabar, that's that word, yea, I have called him, kara is to, like the church is called out, the mikra is a calling out, the gathering together at the Moedim. I have called him, and I have brought him, and he shall make his way, his direct, prosperous. So talking about Israel, talking about the Messiah. Messiah is the head. He's the king of Yisrael. So this is applicable to him. This is applicable to the servant in this context. Israel, the body, right? He's the king, the head of the body of Israel, the body of Messiah. Verse 17. Thus saith Yahweh thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, I am Yahweh thy Elohim, which teacheth thee. He teaches thee to profit. That word teach, lamad, it's lamed, which is like a shepherd's staff. It guides, it leads, and then amad is to stand up. So he teaches us to stand up, in a sense, to profit. So he's the one that teaches us to profit, not the horoscopes, not the sorceries, not Hollywood, not all of these things that we're given to, not synchronization within the church, but it's Yahuwah that teaches and lead us, that darak, the path, gives us the way, right here, the direct, that thou should goest. Verse 18, O that thou hast listened to my commandments. Big one, right? Is your organization teaching you commandments? Did we listen? Listen to the commandments. We didn't listen to the commandments for a long time, and still in churches they're saying, We don't need those. Those are old or worn out. We don't need them. No good. But it's the foundation. It's the schoolmaster that teaches you. And when you graduate from school, you don't dismiss your schoolmaster. What you've learned, you apply it. You walk out in the spirit of it. Not in the letter of it, but in the spirit of it. He says, if you had listened to my commandments, then had thy peace, thy shalom, have been as a river, and thy righteousness as the waves of the sea. I got peace like a river, right? Isaiah 48:20. Go ye forth of Babylon. So come out of Babylon. Flee from the Chaldeans, from the prognosticators, from the calendar cultist. Flee from these ways and come out with a voice of singing. Declare ye, tell this, utter it even to the end of the earth, the end of the lands. Say ye, Yahweh has redeemed his servant Jacob. right? Israel. So we're in chapter 48 of Isaiah. Keep reading into 53. My servant, he has redeemed us. We have been beaten down. We have been afflicted. His flesh has been torn, become sick, and Messiah brings us back. He heals us. Let's look at one more verse here, and I think this is relevant to the calendars and being worn out and wearied. And like I said, don't take this as like a say stop looking for those things. It's not about that. It's more of on our reaction and treatment towards one another regarding these calendars. And if somebody has a different understanding, or just be gentle, be kind. It says here in verse Revelation 22 verse 4. Let's go to verse 3. This is talking about, and we'll start up here in verse 22. It just talked about the river, right? In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river was the tree of life, which bare 12 manners of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of Yahuwah and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. And they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. So he's given us the family name. It talks about in Isaiah the surname. We've been given the family name. Yahusha got the name, and it's in that family name that we're all united as one body. Verse 5, and there shall be no night. There shall be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun. And Yahuwah Elohim gives them light, and they have rain forever and ever. So there's no light of the sun, right? There's no need for the moon and the sun in this kingdom that we are a part of, in the future kingdom, in the resurrection. So we're not battling over whether we're following the sun or following the moon or following, Yahuwah is Lord of the Sabaoth, the Sabbath, right? So it's important that we understand, like, hey, in eternity, the sun and the moon, where we are in this spiritual body, the spiritual temple, those things aren't as important. The weightier matters of taking care of our brothers and sisters, that's what we want to remember, and take care of one another. If somebody has a different idea of a calendar and like you don't agree with it, then you don't have to go be a part of those festivities. That's fine. But I think it's important that we have to discern the spirits. We have to test the spirits, whether they're of Elohim or not, whether they teach that Yahushua didn't come in the flesh, but God came in the flesh. These other spirits and people that are just dividing and destroying one another. We shall know them by their fruits. So I pray that this blessed you. And if you have any questions, put that down in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Shalom.